There are countless boosted board reviews out there, I know, because I've watched the majority of them, which is why I was kind of surprised that there were a couple of key things I didn't know about this board when I got it. So I'm going to talk about those and some things that I think are really good to know before getting one, like how different it is riding a board like this compared to a normal skateboard, and a couple of accessories that I think would make your board even better. It's going to be fun. In this video, I'm talking about the Boosted Mini X, which is the upgraded model of the Boosted Mini S. The notable differences being that the Mini X tops out at 20 miles per hour and has an extended range battery that lasts about 14 miles, whereas the Mini S tops out at 18 miles per hour and has a standard range of 7 miles. All of this you probably already know. When I first got this board, I immediately pulled it out of the box, turned it on, and took it outside. But I'll be honest, that first ride was a little lackluster. It's kind of disappointing because it was a lot slower than I had expected. Like, I expected to get on this thing and experience pure terror how fast it can go. But instead, it was kind of like this. So I brought it back in and found out that there's an app that you can download, which is really cool. You can name your board. I named mine Benny and the Jets, because, you know, why not? It shows your estimated range, an odometer, which is really cool. I love seeing how many miles I've gone. And it has different modes: beginner, eco, and expert. Seriously, not a single video I watched mentioned that, which I guess I should have assumed, maybe. But I don't know much about these things. The only experience I had was on those electric Lime scooters, and those don't have modes. At least I don't think they do. I don't know who to trust anymore. Beginner mode tops out at 11 miles per hour, eco at 16 miles per hour, and expert at the full 20. Now, another thing that I didn't know was that these modes determine your battery life. On beginner mode, you get the full extended range of 14 miles. On eco, you get about 12, and on expert, you get about 10. All this makes sense, you know. The faster you go, the more energy you use. I just didn't know. I thought it was 20 miles per hour at 14 mile range, which is really not that big of a difference. We're talking about 4 miles, if that. In the manual, Boosted emphasizes to treat this board as if you've never ridden a skateboard before, because it's a lot different, which is totally true, and I'll explain why. First of all, it's heavy as shit. It's like 14 pounds. The weight of it makes the board hug the ground where it's stable at high speeds, which is great. The only downside is carrying it around all day. But even then, you kind of get used to it, and it's a great way to stay in shape. So the main difference between riding this and a normal skateboard is how your weight kind of fluctuates between each leg. So on a normal skateboard, you know, obviously my weight is usually centered, but if I'm like riding or just coasting, a lot of my weight is on this back leg. But I notice on the Boosted board, my weight is more so on this leg because I'm accelerating a lot. And if I'm caught like leaning back on this one and I accelerate, this puppy just goes so fast that it's just gonna leave me. Which might not seem like a big deal, but you know, years of this being the dominant leg where all your weight or the majority of your weight goes, and then suddenly switching it to this leg, it feels a little different. Like, lean on your weaker leg for like a minute and see what happens. See, it's starting to feel a little shaky, starting to feel the burn in a couple of areas that you don't normally feel that. So imagine this weaker, shaky, unstable kind of feeling on a board going 20 miles per hour down the road. It's a little intimidating. Now, when it comes to trying to slow down on a skateboard, you don't have that many options. You can either start to carve, put your foot down, jump off, or just commit to riding it out. On a boosted board, you can actually slow down, and it's the weirdest thing ever. If you're leaning forward because you're going fast or you're accelerating and then you start to brake, you're gonna fly forward. So that's just another thing to get used to. This kind of fluctuating your weight back and forth between accelerating and slowing down, which you do that a lot whenever you're riding the board. All this is pretty minor stuff though. You get used to it pretty quickly. This is gonna sound hypocritical of me because I'm not wearing one, but I highly recommend wearing a helmet. I have one on the way, it's just not here yet. Even as a kid, I never wore protective gear, not because I was too cool or whatever, it was uncomfortable. I didn't like wearing it, you know. There's no legitimate reason for me not to wear protective gear. I know, I just didn't. But riding this thing made me buy a helmet, if that says anything. Like in an empty parking lot, I feel fine, but when I'm on the road, I'm very aware of my head. By now, I'm sure you've noticed that the wheels I'm using are a little bit different. After a lot of research, I upgraded my wheels to the Orangutan Kagwamas. These are a little bigger at 85mm compared to the 80mm boosted bore wheels. The larger size means that these will go a little bit faster, bringing your top speed up by 1 or 2 miles per hour, but they also very slightly slow down your acceleration and braking. Both of these things you might notice on the first ride with these new wheels, but after that, you really can't tell a difference. The biggest thing about these is that they are softer, so you don't feel nearly as many bumps in the road, and they grip the road even better. So the ride is so much smoother and you just feel glued to the road like the board's not going anywhere. It's definitely an improvement. Plus they're blue. I like blue. I know you might be thinking, I just bought this board and now I gotta upgrade my wheels. You don't have to. The wheels that come with the boosted board are great, they work fine. I just like customizing and they did improve my already great ride. The other accessory that I recommend, other than the helmet of course, is this guitar stand. It's $13 on Amazon and it holds the board perfectly. The best thing about it though is that the tail still touches the ground, so the weight of the board is on the tail and not the wheels. Putting too much weight on the back wheels where the motor is not good for it, but with this stand you don't have to worry about it. Plus, it just looks cool. Overall, this was the best purchase that I have made in a long time. If you are on the fence about getting one of these, I highly recommend it. Just do it. Just do it. You will not be disappointed. And if you're trying to decide between the Mini X or the Mini S, I never rode the Mini S, but just the features with this one, the extended range and the faster speed, I highly recommend the Mini X. I couldn't imagine any less. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. Maybe one day. Boosted, hit me up. I would love to review other ones.